5 people charged in the killings of 2 Kansas moms back in court in the Oklahoma Panhandle today. Each of them facing first-degree murder and kidnapping charges in connection to the deaths of 27-year-old Veronica Butler and 39-year-old Jillian Kelly. Their bodies were found buried in a pasture 2 weeks after they disappeared in late March. The 2 women had been on their way to a supervised visit with Butler's children, who at the time were living with their grandmother, Tiffany Adams, and an ongoing custody dispute between Adams and Butler over those children is believed to be central to this case. So let's bring in senior national correspondent Brian Enton, who has covered this story extensively. He is live now in Texas County, Oklahoma. So Brian, what did we learn in court today?
Yeah, Nichole, it's always interesting coming to these court proceedings in Texas County, Oklahoma for this case, because the way it all starts. About a half an hour before, there's intense security. They lock down the parking lot, and you see them walk all 5 of the suspects into court. And that happened once again today. One by one, they would pull the car up. They would take the suspects out. You see Grandma Tiffany Adams there, the alleged mastermind behind the whole crime, and they walk them in, handcuffed and with bulletproof vests on. What was unique this time, though, and the judge said nothing like this has ever happened before in this courthouse, is they had the hearing for all 5 suspects at the very same time. So they were all in the courtroom together, which is a relatively small courtroom. There was a ton of deputies in there to keep everything secure. The victims' family members were there. And they decided that they were going to hold the hearing together. That's what the lawyers wanted, which is somewhat unusual. Normally, you see them separate suspects, even if it's a case tied together like this. That's what they've actually done in the past with the bond hearings. But this time they did it all together. Basically went over the evidence. They're still waiting on a ton of evidence, the defense said, waiting to review it. They're still waiting on the medical examiner's report, which is really, really important. They still haven't received it. We haven't received it. We've been requesting it. We're told the latest we've heard is it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. It's important because we still don't know how these moms, Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly, died. We don't know the cause of death. We do know, based on all of our reporting, that it was a brutal killing, that they were not shot, that they were found inside a freezer about 10 feet beneath the ground. They were buried. And I've actually been out to that site where they buried the freezer, where the investigators say the suspects buried the women in the freezer, a remote area behind a farm. But it'll be very interesting to soon, apparently in the next 2 to 3 weeks, find out exactly how the women died. Next up will be a preliminary hearing, Nichole, and we're told that once again, all 5 suspects will be together for that hearing, which it's interesting to see because they're all in the courtroom together. They're looking at each other, and you have to presume they haven't seen each other since they were arrested, Nichole.
Yeah, and Brian, we're looking at that video now as those defendants were walked into the courthouse. I know you in the past have had an opportunity to speak to the families of these victims at the center of all this. Were any family members in court today?
Yeah, they were. Jillian Kelly's dad, one of the victims, he was here again today. He actually had a T-shirt on with Jillian's photo on it. I mean, it's just so heartbreaking for them, especially for Jillian, who really didn't have much to do with it. Of course, the accusation is that this was a custody dispute between Grandma Tiffany and Veronica Butler, and that Jillian just happened to be there helping with the swap of custody. So really sort of in the wrong place at the wrong time. And her father has just been torn up. At one of the hearings, he actually sort of lashed out and started shouting at the suspects in court. But today, the entire hearing was much, much calmer.
All right, yeah, we will certainly see what happens next, Brian, keeping an eye on all of it. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.